Okay. Alrighty, so we're gonna fell a pretty big tree. It's maybe 16 dBH, big sugar maple. I've been clearing this view for a while. We probably need to take both of these huge sugar maples. The lean is in the pretty much the perfect direction. So maybe I give a little tutorial because it's a pretty easy, non-complex tree, but it's pretty large, so we can illustrate a lot of the principles. Based on the way this grew, this tree's older, so this one came a little later, and since this one was above it, blocking that direction, it has grown into the open space to the left, which has caused a little bit of a lean, and incidentally, that is the spot that is totally open, where we want it to fall. Therefore, we don't have to do, it's a more forgiving tree. So I'm gonna suit up into my gear, and then I'll go step by step through the felling process. So here's the side view. We're cutting here, and then we're cutting here with our chainsaw, which looks like this kind of. Right, sort of. This is me holding it sideways. I should have a helmet on and ear things too. So like that kind of. Oh, and there's a screen here because you don't want all the. That's all. Wait a minute. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So, this is the aerial view. This is what the stump will look like. This is called our hinge, I believe. Hinge. Also called holding wood because it's what holds the tree at the end. So the first cut you're going to make is a notch. So this is what's going to be your notch when you're looking at it at the stump. This line to be, I think it's 80% of the diameter of the tree. That's this line. That's how far you're going to cut down into it. When it's at the top, it's going to be 80%. Kind of a hard way to think about it, in my opinion. I like to think of it that way because it varies with how fat the tree is and like in kind of oscillations and how trees can be. I don't know, whatever the word is. There's some variability. So 80% is better than a sort of easier way to think about it, which is if your tree is here, you want your notch to go 20% of the way, or 1/5, or 1/5 of the diameter of the tree. So that's easier. So this would be this is like 16 dBH, but say it's 20 where we're cutting. So 1/5 of that's going to be 4 inches. So the end of your notch is going to be 4 inches in. If that makes sense. So this will be 4 inches. I believe 80% of the diameter of the tree is a better way to think about it, this line, but it's harder to visualize. So 80% of what 20 is, 16? So you're going to want this line to be 16 inches, but it's harder to kind of know that based on your saw, but it's more precise and it accounts for any variability within the stump. So if you want to think of it this way, probably starting out it's an easier way to think about it because it's going to work the vast majority of the time. If you see that you have a stump that's very strange, maybe you want to think about it a different way. So there's that. That's the front cut. And then, so you do your notch. We should talk about this. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. This is what most people teach now. And, it leans in the right direction. It's not very complicated. So, bore cuts are better and safer. What's wrong, Heather? What happened? Oh, sorry. Heather, my fiance, got stung by a bee. Sorry. Yes. What are we talking about? Oh, yes. Okay, so twice. You'll see what I mean. So, this is 60%. Oh, sorry, 60 degrees, and this is 30 degrees, and then this is a right angle. Does that make sense? I think it's, oh, wait. There's certain ways to think about this. So 30 degrees here, that's right. This is 30 degrees. And that's 60 degrees. See, it's mathematical. It's hard stuff. Right angle, that's a right angle. This is 60 degrees. Whatever. Roughly, this will be say this length is X, this is going to be 2X roughly, not always, and this is 90 degrees, hence the right triangle symbol. You see what I'm getting at? I'm a little more math. He thought logging was this, you know, logging's, it's hard stuff. It's a dangerous thing. That's why it's like this, you know, the first or second or third or whatever most dangerous job. So that's why you get at this. It's very technical. Anyway, so say now you're doing your back cut. So you want to start your back cut above where this is, and you want it to meet above, because if it goes below, you're going to have a lot of issues. You can put it totally straight here. I just consider it above, but you know, if your saw's dull, sometimes it curves, so I try to compensate for back here. So even if I, you know, and I would much rather have it slope down rather than slope up, because that's going to have a lot of problems. You can go straight, but you want to go, you know, probably somewhere between straight and like, you know, just slightly curved down. So I start, I don't know, depending on how big my tree is, let's say, I start 10% higher than the diameter from the blah, 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 blah. So, you know, whatever, like a couple inches higher, call that 2 inches or something. Because you want to meet up with this part, not too high or not too low. You want to meet up with some part of your notch, relatively close to where, you know, the middle. So you're going to do your back cut on this one like that. Yes. What now? Since it's such an easier tree and it's not complex, I'm just going to come straight in from the back because it's fast and you don't have to think very much. And so basically you're going to get where you're like cutting through here and then you're like inching up. So when you get to this point, you'll see me do it. I'm going to start to look up, and when you see any, like you see the tree starting to move a little bit, and it's going to want to go the way it's leaning. So you'll start to see this kerf, which is where you cut in the back, open up, hopefully. And then I'll start to inch it forward. And so usually, although it might be faster because it's leaning in this direction, when you get to 10% of the diameter of the tree, so when there's 2 inches left in this, 2 inches left, that's what this span is here. This isn't to scale exactly, but this is 2 inches. It should start to fall, or you should stop and then inch it forward to make sure everything's right, because that's when it should fall and that's when everything's correct. There's some calculus shit there. Yeah, you can put it, so if you're having problems when you get to kind of like the middle of the tree, that's when you can start beating in wedges. But the thing about that is if you beat in the wedges in that way, unless you're doing a bore and the triangular cuts, which, you know, I don't want to get into on this tree because it's higher, more complicated stuff. When you get into like, you start to beat your wedge in because your saw is going to be like whatever here. You want to make sure that your saw doesn't like beat up, you know, slice through your wedge, which happens all the time. So when you get into here, if you feel like you need it, which I probably won't, I might put a wedge just to demonstrate it, but you know, you can put a wedge in behind your saw, and that'll start to inch it over, and then, you know, you drive it further and further and further when you get closer to the end. So, I don't know. Okay. So that's the beginning whiteboard portion of this, and I don't know if anybody can see any of this, but here we go. All right, I'm felling this thing. I'll walk you through step by step. So, equipment you'll need: chaps. I highly recommend them. I don't know why anyone would cut without them if you cut a lot. Seems like a unnecessary risk. A helmet I always wear, or glasses, particularly earplugs, which if you saw a lot, you're really going to want them, trust me. I mean, I don't always bring this depending on how big they are, but if it's a big tree and I'm going to be doing felling, particularly felling with large trees, I bring an axe and a few wedges. Got one in my pocket, along with my scrunch, which comes with the saw. This is a new saw that I got this weekend, and the jury is out on whether I like it or not. Okay, so starting with the first notch. I always come from the top because it's more forgiving and it's a longer cut anyway, and you end up meeting up with it. So I'm going to do this long 30% one here. Remember, I'm wanting it to go until there's 80% across, or about 1/5 through the tree. So that's the first cut I'm making. It's going to be on the back side. I'll show you the stump when I'm done. So I already started this, so just okay, you can aim with your, there's a little, I think all saws have them, there's a line here, which you can use to aim. It's a 90-degree angle from here. So it'll show you where you're putting your notch. It'll show you where the tree will fall if it's perfectly straight. Because leans and weight can have an effect on where something will fall. But say it's the perfect tree which has the center of gravity like right above the stump. It'll fall on that line, hopefully. Supposedly. So this spot is pretty forgiving, but I want to miss that little sumac over there, and there's another, I think it's a beech tree that I kind of left, so I don't want to crush them. I don't even know if this would hit that. It probably will. So I think I'm gonna go. Okay, so that's where I'm going. So I will aim directly there, which is. Totally snug. You want it to be a straight line. Okay. When you come in, I'm doing the bottom cut. You want to meet up with them. I'll turn this off. So I made my first cut down. Supposedly this is a 30-degree angle. I don't know. And hopefully that's about 80%. It's an easy tree, so you don't have to be totally exact. You should be, always. So now I'm going to come up and I'm going to do this cut here, and meet up with it, and hopefully I'll have a 90-degree angle. All right. Alright, that's not totally right, but it's good. It's close enough. Alright. Okie doke. There's sawdust on the screen. Alrighty, so this is what I got. It's not quite 90 degrees. The bottom, in my, so you can tell my blade is pretty dull, or my chain's pretty dull because I haven't sharpened it. Anyway, that's not quite 90. What you really want is to make sure that it's sloping. Both this part is sloping and this part's not exactly 90 degrees. right there, but it's enough to illustrate it. It's, I don't know, roughly, this pot's 1/5 of the tree, you know, 20%, maybe not, I don't know, close enough. It's pretty clean, it's pretty sharp angle, which is kind of what you want. I mean, that's all the way down. I cleaned it up some. Running out of video, so I don't want to do anything. Okay, so now we're gonna be coming through and doing the back cut, and I'm gonna be coming through, and you'll see all of this hopefully. About right here. Angle right again. My stick tripod is moving. Okay, so I'm doing the back cut right here. Just did that, doing the back cut. May put in a wedge, but you know. So I'm gonna wanna define the spot that you know is correct on the other side. Okay, I think that since I saw its goal spreading up, so I'm going to flip around as you go down. That's almost it. So my bar is 16 or 18. I just bought it. I think it's 16. Yeah, I think it's a 16-inch bar. So it's not big enough to go all the way through this tree, so I got to go to both sides, which means this corner's totally done. So therefore, I can put in a notch, which is totally unnecessary because this tree is already leaning that way, but that's how one would do it. And now I'll come back in with my other side. Okay, well, you see how quickly that went. And that was exactly where I wanted it. Didn't hit anything. It wasn't even long enough to hit what I was worried about. Okay, let's look at this stump. The orange bits, I hit it with the saw just a tiny bit, but I was only putting it there to illustrate. So, the saw did not, the tree did not come off of its stump, which is totally fine. So we have this, as you can see from the top side. My chain is a little dull, so the way I was going before, it was sawing up, and notice that, and I took it out, and I flipped it around so it was trending down, see? Which was wise. It probably would have been fine, even if the cut had met up, but if it had gone too high, it wouldn't have fallen correctly. So you can see, if you do it the right way, I think, usually, or almost always, you get these, it's called fiber pull, I think, right here where the hinge is, And if no part is like particularly longer than the others, that's usually a good sign, unless you were doing that intentionally for directional felling or swinging, or that's some more advanced techniques. You can tell from right here that I didn't get all the way through. This is where my saw had ended, so this is right around 16 inches, I'm guessing. Our diameter was maybe 18 or 20, right where we were cutting, which is why we made our calculations that way. So remember that your hinge is supposed to be 10% of the diameter of the tree, which our diameter was 20, so this should be 2 inches, which is it's very close. Hinge was good, fell as we had hoped. Yeah, I would say that this line is can't quite see it, but probably right around 80. But anyway, so here we are, and you know, the tree is down.